The third interview in our lightweight series is with Juliane Rasmussen. Juliane has a long and storied career and has competed in 4 Olympic Games, beginning in the Athens Olympics and all the way through to the Rio Olympic Games. She has earned multiple medals at World Cups and World Championships in the lightweight women's double and lightweight women's quad. Juliane and I discuss her consistent success over so many years, all while starting a family, as well as entrepreneurial endeavors with a company she has co-founded called Athlete's Zone. Let's roll to the episode. Welcome to the Leo Training Podcast, a podcast focused on scientific and real-world expertise on training strategies between your ears, behind the oar handle, on the field and court, and in the strength and conditioning room. I'm your host, Joe DeLeo. I am a strength and conditioning coach, speaker, and lifelong student focused on continuous improvement. Thank you for joining me, and let's roll to today's episode. I am super excited to welcome onto the Leo Training Podcast world record holder from Denmark, Juliane Rasmussen. Juliane, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to have you. So you are fresh off of the women's 2K record for lightweight over 40 that you just set at the Crash B on February 17th, 2019. So this past Sunday with a time of 7:05.3, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we are going to cover your rowing career in Denmark, the training that you've done throughout your career, and then we're going to talk a little bit about lightweight rowing, as well as starting a family and managing training around raising kids and some of the challenges that presents, as well as the culture of rowing in Denmark. So why don't you kick things off and just tell us how you got started in the sport?
Yeah, actually, I started a bit late. I thought I was 15 years old, and I have been spending a lot of time in the stable horseback riding. And then I quit the horseback riding, and then a friend of mine took me down to the local club, and I saw those boats and rowing on the sea, and it was just great. And one stroke took another, and I looked at, in Denmark we have those big boats, and I started in those, and then I looked at the tiny racing boats, and I think, oh, whoa, that looks good. And then I started rowing the single, and I just loved the sport. And then I went to my first regatta, and there was a coach from another part of the country who said, oh, maybe you had the possibility to go to the junior world championship. And I was like, whoa, I haven't imagined that could be a possibility, taking part of the national team, because I was starting late, and I thought that you should have been a rower since you were 7 if you should have a chance, and so on. I was just like blown away and said, whoa. And I gave it all I had, and tried to go to the junior world championship, but I missed it. But I was still on fire on rowing, and then I got qualified for the under 23 in '99, and that was the start on my career in rowing. And my strength has always been the physical. I think I was quite fast in the rowing machine in the beginning, and actually a bit of a fun fact, I went to the Crash P the first time in 2000, and I did the time 7:05.3, the accurate same time as I did last Sunday. Wow. That's a bit funny, like 19 years later.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. So the exact same time down to the 10th of a second. That's incredible. So started in 1999, and then talk to us about, competing. You started off at under 23, so then I believe it was called the Nations Cup, and then training.
I was
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was in the single, and then we had a former champion in Denmark, Mette Block. Maybe you know her. She was 2 times world champion in the lightweight single, and she was a bit of an idol for me. So I think, oh, I have to do as good as Mette. So I was in the single, but then I was selected for the senior A national team, maybe because of my strengths in the rowing machine. And then, of course, we started talking about the Olympics, and that was in the autumn of 2000. And then we started the project to qualify a double for 2004.
Wow.
So when I was a part of the senior A team, it was, of course, the lightweight doubles. That was the main goal.
Right. Absolutely. So I think one of the things I was going to ask this a little bit later, but I think it's kind of important to touch upon. So you kind of shared with me before we started the interview that the way that rowing's set up in Denmark is pretty different compared to other places around the world or other countries. And so like the US and Great Britain, they have, colleges and universities and they'll have, athletes are rowing out of those colleges and universities, especially in the US, but it's set up quite different in Denmark. Could you kind of talk to us about that?
Yeah, in Denmark, it's all based on club rowing. So all rowers start in a club, and then Denmark is such a tiny little country, so everybody knows each other. So when you turn to be a good rower, everybody, there is some over there, and then we if you want to be a part of the national team rowing, you have to move to Copenhagen to Lake Bagsværd and do the training there. So it's based in the club, and then we go to some training centers, and then the main goal is, of course, to go to national team level. So
because of the way that the clubs are set up, initially, as you are kind of getting introduced and starting off in the sport, you might be pretty spread out from some of the national team athletes. Is that correct?
Once again,
you might be located in a different part of the country compared to some of the athletes that are at the training center.
Yeah, that's true. Especially when you're a junior and you have your high school to take care of and your family. But then you start to collect the rowers for weekends, and we are doing camps in the weekends and go together and to make the strongest boats. So that's a part of the education being a rower. And then when you are taking a part of the national team, you have to come on camps almost every weekend. Otherwise, the best thing is to move to Copenhagen to be a part of the team.
Sure. Okay. So now that we kind of understand how things are set up in Denmark, so flipping back to the early 2000s and the lead up to 2004 in Athens. So how did that affect the training? Like, so were you training in Copenhagen at that time, or were you somewhere else?
In the beginning, I was. I'm from the mainland, so I lived in Aarhus, which is the second largest town in Denmark, and I was just started at the School of Architecture and my education there. So in the beginning, I was moving all the weekends to Copenhagen to take part of the training, and I had the daily training at home. But then I think it was in 2003. Then I decided to move to Copenhagen to be a part of the team and the daily training.
Okay, very cool.
And we have great possibilities. We have something called Team Denmark, with taking care of all sports in Denmark, and they are very good at helping athletes by doing their education. And like I had my education moved from Aarhus to Copenhagen, and they are very helpful about that to make sure that the athletes had something like a career besides
good support.
the sport. Yeah.
So you were able to transfer where you were going to school closer to where you were training.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Very cool. So take us through the rest of your training leading up to Athens and the 2004 Olympic Games.
Yeah, it was like I had one. We started with a large group of girls, like finding out who should sit on the double, and there was a young junior rower who started the senior level in 2002, and we were very strong, and we were a good match, and we actually rode the double in 2002, and we make it to the final, and that was amazing. Whoa! At the World Championship in Seville, so we were very like, oh, we can do it. But then in 2003, we actually missed the qualification for the Olympics and ended up 10th. We should have had a rank of 8 to get the qualification spot. But yeah, there was some changes in the setup at the World Championship in Milano, and we didn't make it there. So it was there was a lot of pressure on, because we didn't knew if we could take one of the 2 spots in Lucerne in 2004, and we made it like with a photo finish. So it was like, whoa, and it was amazing, like standing there having the qualification in 2004, and then we were ready for the Athens Games. Yeah, it was amazing year, and when we went to camp, we actually had a lot of speed in the boat, but my partner, she went out biking on a training session, and she went into an accident, and she had some ended up on the hospital, like having some and broke a rib. So the preparation wasn't the best in the end, just before, but it was great, and I wanted more after that.
Yeah, of course.
And my partner, she retired, and then we started up a new circle for the 2008, and actually I think it did some very smart in Denmark. We made a quad in 2005 and 6 to make a strong team who could row together, and then we all knew that when we came to 2007, 2 of the girls should be out, and that's a tough way to do it, but I think it made a very strong boat. And actually, Catherine and I, who was selected, we ended up taking 2 gold medals at the World Cup in 2007, and won the total World Cup in 2007. Mm-hmm. And in the end, we took a bronze, actually together with the Germans. So we were two teams on the podium, but we had the spot for Beijing.
Oh, I'm pulling up that result right now. I've been on World Rowing as you're talking. So, oh wow, you guys finished. So it was a photo finish 7:08.97. It was a tie for third across the line.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you got to tell us about that race.
It was actually the semifinal is always nerve-breaking, and when we made that, we were through to the final, and we knew we had the qualification spot. And then the race, Catherine and I, we were always slow starters, like really slow starters, but then in the end we were just like came and exactly. I did that as well, but it was we made it, or almost, or what you say, because we finished together with the Germans. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was
That's incredible.
And actually, it was the World Championship was in Munich, so it was good to all the applause we get together with the German. That was huge because it was their home court. So if we should share it with someone, it was great.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So obviously, as you also said, so that result qualified the boat for Beijing.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the training leading up to 2008 and then the Olympic regatta.
Yeah, actually, I think looking back, I've learned a lot from going to Beijing, and maybe we should have used that for Rio as well, because it's far away from home, and in other time zones and in other climate. And I think that it was difficult for us, like having the camp in Europe and then go to a new boat, a new time zone, a new climate, and then racing in Beijing. But in the lightweight double, it's both for men and women. It's always tight, and as I said, the semis are nerve breaking because there is so many very strong crews because it's the only boat for lightweights. So we had a good heat, but we had the toughest semifinal, and we didn't make it. And then in the end, we were like crying. I think it's the time I've been crying most in rowing because of a result. But then we find each other again, and we had a fabulous race in the B final, winning the B final. So it ended up with a good race, and it was like, but it was a Catherine, my partner, she actually had during the winter some problem with the ribs. So we didn't have the best preparation like during the winter, but I think we found each other like both technically and physically in the end, and it was just like almost, but yeah.
So one question I have for you is, as you're going through that experience, right, and the goal is always to win, right? How do you, as an athlete, like handle that adversity? You come out of the semifinal, it's not the result that you want, but you have to turn around and still, go into the B final and still race again and perform, right? So if you were talking to younger rowers, how would you tell them to handle that?
It's a very difficult situation, but of course we wanted to prove that we should have been in that final, and that was what we did. But it is very difficult to when you have had a goal for such a long time and then you don't get what you expect.
Yeah.
And actually we had the same in Rio, like jumping to that, because it was the same case that we were like. Actually, we had the semifinal we wanted, but everybody wants the final spot. So, and we missed it in the final. So it's very, very difficult. And actually, right now it's difficult for me to see what went wrong in that semifinal. And we have talked a lot about it, Anna and I. And it's tough, but I think that's very important for me that. The process is so important. Of course, the goal is the most important, but the process, it's very good to have a good process, because when I'm talking to you now and I'm thinking back on Beijing and Rio, I think, I had some fantastic rowing with Catherine and with Anna, and what I remember from 2016, it was that at the last World Cup we actually had set a time almost close to the world record, and we were only half a length after the Dutch, who won the Olympic Games. So that's what I are taking with me from 2016. I've learned a lot about not getting the goal, but I pick up the good thing and
Sure.
take it further.
Yeah, build off of all the lessons and knowledge that you learned.
Yeah, and then of course in Rio it was the same case as in Beijing, and I hope we can learn from that in Tokyo, because it's very difficult, like 10 days before you have your biggest race, then going into a new time zone, accept that you are not like fit for fight, but you will be, and then going into a boat you haven't been sitting in for 3 months because it has to be shipped away a long time before. I think that was. Yeah, if I should do anything in another way, I think it should be like taking the camp on the in the country where we are racing, and I hope we can. And I think we will have camp in Japan before Tokyo.
So you mean you would like to try to have more time to acclimate to the country, to the conditions,
and to the boat.
To the boat, yeah. Okay, so take us through the next quadrennium. So finish Beijing, continue with training all the way up and through London.
Yeah, actually, I had a bit of. I have mentioned Mette Block earlier, and I have always had a goal like representing Denmark in the lightweight single as she did, and I had that possibility in 2009 because Catherine retired, and then I took a year in the single, and I had a great year. I was just like, I was that was a year where I started being a couple with Mads, and he was in the lightweight single as well, so we had a great season, ending up like taking a bronze, both of us. So it was a great season, but both of us knew that we would like to go to the London game. But I didn't have a partner, and at the lightweight girls who was in Danish rowing at that time, there wasn't a partner I could see like with the Olympic potential. So I looked in the changing room. No, actually, I read in the newspaper that Anne Lolk, she had just retired from kayaking, and she had just the right size for lightweight rowing, and I knew she was strong and competitive. And so I actually asked her, Anne, would you like to go take a chance with me in the double for London? And she just retired because she couldn't see herself qualifying in kayak. So she would, oh yeah, that sounds great. Let's try that.
So she switched over to a completely new sport.
Completely new sport. And I remember the first time we win in the double. I don't think I took a stroke at all. I was just like balance the boat, and she was just like trying to to do some rowing.
Oh wow, that's incredible. So what year did she start? Did she make the switch?
Yeah, I said, actually it was a bit difficult. I was talking with Mads, and I sent this email, and I was like with heart beating, like I pushed on send, and she actually answered the day after, and whoa, and it was in autumn 2009, and
oh, wow.
I was like getting married with Mads, and I knew that if I should go to London, I would have a child before that. So actually, when I asked her, I was pregnant. I didn't told her because I told her that later. And then I think it was a second or third time we did the training together. We met Fie Udby, the heavyweight single from Denmark, and said, "Hey, congratulations!" We're like, "Oh," then I had to tell Anna, "Oh, actually, there's one more thing. I'm pregnant." But I had a plan, and I actually think it was the strength that I was pregnant, because then it was all about Anne, like getting into rowing and being strong, as strong as possible. I didn't want to do my personal best because I had to take care of the child and learn Anne to row. And then when I was too big to be in the boat, she had some time in the single, and she actually rowed a World Cup in the single. And I think that was very good learning for her as well, like being in the single.
Wow.
And I think I had my first race. Yeah, we went on camp when Vera was 3 months. So we were back in the boat, like for a camp in 2010.
Okay, so I'm gonna slow you down there a little bit, because that's absolutely incredible. So you had your first child, your daughter Vera.
Yeah.
2010.
2010. Yeah.
2010. Okay, so you were out the second half of 2009 and then 2010. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was at the World Championship in 2009.
That's right. Okay, sorry. And then after the World Championships, then you were pregnant. Okay, so leading into 2010, and then you had Vera. Did not compete in 2010, obviously, because you were pregnant and having Vera. And then 3 months after she was born, you were back training.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
It was so great. We went to Portugal, and we were so supported by the hotel down there, and Luis, who he was a great support for us. And actually, we went there in April, and I was almost too big to be in the boat, but I went rowing with my stomach. No, I think it was February, and then in April I was too big, and then Anna turned to the single, and then we have actually. A part of the plan was that my mother, she retired from work, so she could go with us on camp when we had to go. So so in 3 months after, in November, we took Anne, Vera, and Grandma down to Portugal for camp.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Yeah. And I think that's another really important point too, is just how important support is.
Yeah.
Right?
Support is everything. That's for sure.
Okay. So you come back into training in 2011. So my first question to you is, how do you like reacclimate to training after pregnancy and childbirth? Like, that's a huge major stress on the body, right? And then now you're trying to get back into shape or regain the previous level of fitness you had before you were pregnant. So how did you do that?
Yeah, I was surprised how fast it went. And actually, I think it was both good for the soul and the body to have that break that it was, because when I was too big to be in the boat, I went out in the coach boat looking for Anna's rowing, and it was so motivating when she had to do some technical things. Oh, I want to practice that as well. So I was like highly motivated to get back to the boat, and then with the body, of course, it's hard to get back. And I started in the rowing machine 14 days after, but it was too early. It was too soon. So I could feel that at the first stroke. So I jumped on the bike, and then a month later, I was ready to the rowing machine.
Wow.
So it was like feeling the body, and then of course accept that the scores wasn't as good as used to, far away, but then you have better scores for every session, and that's very motivating. So you just have to set a new 0 and then being happy about the improvements.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And probably just be very patient with yourself. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
But when I'm thinking back, it was a crazy project, like trying to have Annie into rowing and being pregnant, but we were just like, it's like a bumblebee who doesn't know it can't fly or something. But but it was a crazy project, but it was so cool. And actually, Anna's coach from kayaking, he was the first one to say, oh, that's a good idea. And Ben Franson, the coach from the Lightweight 4, he said, oh, wow, that looks good. And he ended up being our coach in London. And so we had 2011 where we were just like having some good World Cup results. And when we ended up at the World Championship in Bled in Slovenia, we didn't make it to the final, and there were 2 spots in the B final, and we knew if we had to have one of those, we should beat someone we have never beaten before. And we did that again with a photo finish, and it was a great, incredible race. It was like, I still remember it was a dream come true.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, so you had a photo finish with the Netherlands.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think you might have like a knack. Like there's like, so this is again 2 times 2 photo finishes. So like, what was your mindset? Like, were you kind of like, oh no, not again? Like, because you had one several years earlier, right?
Yeah, and but I think it was like we have done the impossible, like taking the spot, and it was like, whoa, we did it. But the waiting period, we had a photo where I can see Anna sitting with her finger crossed and just waiting for the results. Like, so that was amazing. But it was, and then we had the spot, and then we were ready to just getting better, and actually it was fantastic in London, where we made it in the semifinal and went through to the final. It was amazing.
So I think like stepping back. So I think one thing that's important for anybody that listens that may not be super familiar with rowing. So the year before the Olympics is the Olympic qualification year. So the racing's always very, very competitive, but especially that year because everybody is trying to secure their spot
for the tickets. Yeah.
So What place do you have to finish to guarantee a spot?
In 11?
Yeah, in 11.
Yeah, that was top 8.
Top 8. So
top 8, yeah.
Everybody's gunning. So would it be accurate to say, of course, I'm sure the final, but the semifinals are probably, it's like a knife fight. Everybody's just going down as hard as they can.
And then the B final as well, because there was only 2 spots. So
right.
Everybody, the B final is fighting for those 2 spots. All those in the final, they knew they had to have them.
Okay.
And actually, as I said, we should beat somebody. We beat the Germans and the Dutch boats we hadn't beaten before through the season. So it was like a nerve-breaking race, like sitting in the start.
Right. So the result of that B final is even more important because that was the final spot for the Olympic qualification. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay. So shifting into 2012, like the lead up to London. So tell us about training that year and the Olympic Games.
Yeah, we had a very good year, and we ended the last World Cup taking a silver, and that was amazing. So we had the speed, and were very looking forward to the London Games, and of course it was Anna's first Olympic Games, and we had a good camp and some good races, and sitting in the semi-final, going through to the final, that was a dream for me. I had been to the Olympics before, but never in the final. So it was that semi-final. I still remember like when we went to the final, and then there was all that about the lane advantage, and we knew it would be difficult in the final because we had the lane 4, and there was advantage in lane 1 or 2. So it was hard for us, and still I would be happy to see in equal conditions if we maybe could have had a medal because we had the speed. But that's a part of having rowing having a sport, outdoor sport.
Yes, yeah, Mother Nature, right? Plays.
Yeah. But we rode our champs, and we were so proud of being 4th in the world with that journey we had been on.
Yeah, that's incredible. So London. So you took a little bit of a break after London.
Yeah, and Anna, she get pregnant as well, and I did as well. So we had 2 more kids into the boat, and then we took. I knew I would. I think I wasn't finished, but Anna, she had. She needed some time to think about if she could be a mother and still be an athlete.
Yeah.
So we took like 13 and 14 to find out if we could come back, and we actually rowed together in 14, like competing on national regattas, and then we were ready for 15.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking like in Athens I went 10, and in Beijing 7, and 4th in London. So I think I have to go to Rio.
That's awesome. So you came back in 14, started competing nationally within Denmark, and then back on the International World Cup circuit in 2015.
Yeah,
and then take us through that World Cup season and into the World Championships.
Yeah, the new thing for us was that we had Brian Richardson, an Australian coach. He was started coaching in Denmark in 14, and it was very interesting for us to have him as a coach, and he was very good for us. And Juliane Rasmussen came back as well, and we were like a crew together with the 2 lightweight doubles under Brian. So that was very good and cool, and I think I can't remember 15. I remember we had the World Championship in Ekbalet, and it was, as you said, the year before the Olympic. When there is those qualification spots, it's like the most competitive competition, I think, even more than the Olympics itself. And it was a crazy regatta because a lot of the favorites didn't make it in the heats. So the quarterfinals, a lot of boats were like very. Some of the favorites met each other like early, and the Dutch went out in the quarterfinal, and the Australians and a lot of favorites didn't even make it to the semifinals. So it was like, whoa, what a regatta. So and we should meet some very good crews both in the quarterfinal and in the semifinal. So like making it to the final and taking the spot there, it was great for us, and good preparations for the Rio Games.
Excellent. So you're heading into the Olympic year, 2016 for Rio. And you kind of mentioned just some of the challenges earlier with Beijing, like the time change and getting acclimated. So it sounds like Rio kind of also presented similar challenges as well in that regard.
But there was one thing more. It was the kids, and we knew that we wouldn't take the kids to Brazil because it would be too far away. And it's actually Vera. She wasn't in London as well because I think it's too difficult because they cannot be have the accreditation for the rowing and where we're living, and so it would be too many like highs and goodbyes and not staying together. So we actually decided she shouldn't be a part of London, and my mother, she went with us in camp, and then when we go from Austria to London, they went back home to Denmark, and it was the same in 16. We knew that we wouldn't bring all the kids to Brazil. So for us, it was good to have the camp in Austria, and they could be a part of the camp. And then when we went to Brazil, they went back home. And of course, it's a long time not seeing your parents for 14 days, but they had their grandmas. And so I think it was the best set up for us as well, because the kids was so young.
Yeah. So do you think, some of the reasons you mentioned, but obviously it has to make it a little bit easier for you, to focus on the race at hand, because it's got to be very challenging with the children around and trying to, make sure that they're settled and they're okay and they're getting everything they need. And at the same time, you're really trying to focus in on your rows and the final preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so good that my mom, she had been a part of it since Vera was little baby. So she's like a second mom. So it's like it's very good, and I know that they are in the best hands when she have them. So that's very good. And then we found out also when the longest time I've been away was last year in Florida, where I had to be on camp, but it's like I'm sending home videos, and then they can watch mom, and then they see the videos again and again, and there's no goodbye, because otherwise we could like doing FaceTime, but it was a bit hard for them to share the screen and saying goodbye. So we have found out that videos was much better. So I made some funny videos, and they could look them again. Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool. But I also have to imagine when the children come like on the camps too, that also has to be like wonderful, because you have like all this energy, you get done, rowing, and like they're so excited to see you. So I'm sure it's just it can make for a really good like environment, in that regard, before the competition.
Yeah, that's true. And it's so good that like camps is like very scheduled, and kids like that. so they were fitting very good into the camp as well. And for me, it was very good when we had been on camp earlier. I could be so like, I don't know the English word, like being tired of being in the camp. But when I have the kids and my mom, I can always go to a playground or do something else to get my mind away from the rowing. And I think that's very good for my for like being the best part of me.
Yeah.
And actually a funny thing, it was like the lightweight four and Mads and Rasmus, they used each other very much at doing pieces and so on. And sometimes it was a bit difficult not taking the fights into shore, like so they were and then the funny thing was that Vera, she was very fascinated about Casper and Eskil Ebbesen, and then when she woke up from her nap and said, "Where is Eskil?" Then it was hard to be angry at him for Mads. So I think actually it was very good that she was like ice breaking on the camp, and everybody loved that little kid like walking around. So I think it was good for the team as well to having a small mascot as well.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh. Okay, so take us through the lead up to Rio, the final World Cups, and then the Olympic Games in 2016.
Yeah, it was difficult we went into 2016 with the best scores ever in the ergs. So we were just like, whoa, we are so strong and we are unbeatable and so on. And then we went into the water and we didn't have the speed, and we couldn't understand that because we have all the experience and we have the power, but then we have to figure out what was the good thing we did in 15. And actually after the European Championship we were like finding 5 seconds over a week because we just started talking rowing again and talking about what was the good thing we have done and like being good again. And that was very good learning for us. Like, you cannot do the cruise control, you have to always like trying to be better and do your best. And then we gained a lot of speed like during the World Cup season, ending up, as I told, with a silver at the last World Cup with a time almost like, I think it was almost record.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, I think it was almost the Dutch. They beat the record in that race, so I think we were close to the old world record. So it was an amazing race, and actually that race, I remember the first 1,000 meter. It was like being just one piece, and I had the backup from Anna, and I was thinking in those 2,000 meter. This is great. This is how it should be every time. And it's, I have only had that feeling once, and it's a feeling that, we always have to go for. Yeah. And it was great. And then we lead it to the 1,000 meter, and then the Dutch came strong, but it was a great race. And I'm so proud of that.
Excellent. Okay. So then talk to us about, the time in between the third World Cup and then the Rio Olympic Regatta, and especially like because as we touched on earlier, some of the similarities with acclimating to the climate and getting used to those types of things, because it was how many hours difference in time for you?
Oh, that I can't remember, but it was huge, and we talked with Brian. He was used to jet lag because he's from Australia, and he said it's okay that you're not feeling that good, but it's hard, like accept that you're not feeling good so close to the Olympics. But I think we made it, and we had a good heat actually, and a good time. So we were, but all the things about the canceling races and actually canceling the race after we were weighed in, and that was a very tough one to deal with, I think, as well. And then there was all the conditions and the rough water, and there was a lot of challenging things in Rio.
Yes, I remember Mads mentioned that as well, and like, so talk about that. So you would, because you have to weigh in at 2 to 3 hours before the race. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2 hours before.
2 hours. And then usually at that point, after you make weight, you can get some nutrition back into your body.
Yeah.
But then they would cancel the race, and that happened several times, I believe, right, at the regatta.
Yeah,
so
I think
that's got to be really challenging on the body.
Yeah. It was so, and also for the mind, like we didn't knew before when we were preparing for the semifinal, we didn't know if they would cancel the race because the condition was bad. So it was like can I trust 100% that I am going out, or what should I expect? So it was very
that's frustrating.
challenging for the mind. Very normally at big championships we have like race and a day off, race and a day off, always having a day off in between. But that's again the weather.
Right. Okay. So you finished third in the B final at Rio. And then into 2017 at Sarasota. But you also competed. You did a World Cup race in the single that year as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was because of injuries. My partner, we were three girls, and I was selected with with Matilda, and she get injured, and then they put me in the single for the last World Cup, and then they had to decide if we should send one single or if we should make a double out of the two singles. And we did that, and we had Ben Franson, the lightweight sport coach, and he made a fantastic job. I think it was because of him we make it to the final in Sarasota. It was amazing.
Could you maybe change positions again? The audio quality kind of went out there a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
I just need to have some.
No, that's better. That's better already.
Yeah, better. Okay, good.
Okay, so at Sarasota, in the A final, finished sixth at that regatta, and then so take us through the World Championships that year, and then also into 2018 as well.
Yeah, it was a great regatta. We had a good camp, even though there was a hurricane in the middle of it, and we had to stay indoor. But we had and we didn't know where we were in the field, so it was like amazing that we developed through the championship and ending up like taking one of the final spots, and that was amazing. And then we had to find out what we should do for 18, and we were actually 4 lightweight girls, and we tried to do the thing again, like doing a strong quad to see if we could be a huge group of girls like rowing together. And we did that in last year, ending up with a silver medal. So that was a good way to go into this season.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we've got to talk about your recent the world record at the Crash B. So you went 7:05.3 for 2K. So talk to us about your training leading up to that, and has it changed a little bit, like as you've become a more mature, older athlete, or is it very much the training program's the same? Are you doing the same type of intensity or endurance work? Just kind of share a little bit about the preparation leading up to that 2K performance.
Yeah. What changed when I started rowing with Anna was that we put the weights into the program, and that we started that a little, and now we have tried to put a bit more weights into the program. And I have to find out what's working best. And I think I have done some time once on a training. I have been under 7 minutes, so that has been a dream goal for me for many years. So it was great to do that. And of course, I'm hoping to go down there again. But up to this world record, I've done a lot of like short pieces, high intensity, and then doing some weights and make sure to be ready for for the race.
Excellent. What type of exercises do you do with the weights?
But the deadlifts and all the huge
compound movements.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rowing relevant things. Yeah. It's still a bit new for me, so I'm trying to do what my partner she's told me to.
Awesome. Very good. Okay, so I have some other questions for you. So, okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more specifically, kind of, or I guess broadly about lightweight rowing. So as many individuals in the rowing community know, lightweight rowing is kind of on the docket for potentially being taken away after Tokyo 2020.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
No.
So what are your thoughts on that, and why it's important to have lightweight rowing and the opportunities it provides for athletes and countries?
Yeah, but I think because rowing is only on 2,000 meter, and that's the only distance, then of course we need to have the lightweight rowing because otherwise small people couldn't compete in rowing. In other sports, they have longer distance for smaller people, but when we only have the 2K, I think it's very important to have the two classes, lightweight and heavyweight.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that one of your doubles partners, if they didn't have lightweight rowing, she's almost small enough to be a coxswain, correct? Is that right?
Yeah, she's only 159 centimeters, and she had a lot of fun, doing lightweight rowing. And of course, she couldn't have been into the heavyweight rowing. Yeah. So she was very ashamed if it should be taken away, because it's a whole her identity as a rower that would be as a cox if there was no lightweight rowing.
Right. So if you were to sit down and have a meeting with World Rowing, what would your suggestions be to make sure we keep lightweight rowing and how it can continue to work and help the sport grow and expand in the future?
Yeah, I think I would look at how competitive it is both in the lightweight men and lightweight women, and it's very exciting races. Even in the C final, is it very close races. So I think there is room for lightweight rowing, of course, and I think that intensity that would be good to have in all races.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you ready for the rapid fire part? I'm going to ask you some short questions, really just centered around rowing, but they're kind of fun. I ask a lot of the guests these.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your top technical drill to develop or improve skill in the boat?
Which is my top? It changed a little, but I'm very fond of the square blade.
Okay. All right. So rowing square blades.
Square blade, yeah.
What strength and conditioning exercise, or so weights, do you feel has the best carryover to rowing? If you had to pick one.
That's good. I think the deadlift is good because I like that, and I think it's very I feel strong when I've done it.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, so this is a really important question. So, as a lightweight, what are some steps, or what's your best advice to make sure that you're consistently able to make weight?
It's a very good question. Of course, I have always been of course, it's not funny to go down in weight, and it's. But I think it's important that you can do it safely. And I've always been a huge lightweight, but not, but also a natural lightweight. So the preparation is, of course, important, and start in good time. It can be can be hard and can be difficult. Sometimes you need to have something, a knife in the throat, but I think that's very important. So you don't have to do quick fixes in the end, because I think that's not good.
Right. Yeah. So definitely making sure you're within a couple pounds or a kilo or two, so you're not trying to make a dramatic shift down in weight.
Yeah, so you have a plan. Of course, you have to. You should not go down too early, because that's not good. So it's good to have a plan, like, and some points where around this weight in this moment, and then so you can follow the plan down. Not getting down too early, because it's important to have energy enough. Like, I think the tough thing, especially for girls, is like eating enough instead of going into that weight loss mode. So it's important that you speed. The most, actually, my advice would be eat as much as possible.
Really?
Yeah, as possible in the weight limits. Sometimes I see people taking away all the meals, and it's very important. Like I think good meal, keeping the meals after training, and instead of like snacking and doing a lot of candy because you have cravings, and so like eating as much as possible compared to your weight. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes it's not much, because you have to lose weight, of course, but it's important to
fuel your body. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. What's your PB, your personal record on the 2K ergometer score? And then do you guys do 6K or 5K?
6K.
Okay. So what's your PR for 2K and 6K?
For 2K, it's 6:59.8.
Awesome.
And for the 6K, the average was 149.4. So I think is it like 21:52 or something? So 21:56.
I think that's yeah.
Just under 22.
Okay.
I think 21:56.
Awesome. As an athlete, who have you studied or do you continue to learn from over the course of your career, so you can continue to get better and improve?
Of course, I've looked a lot about looked to the lightweight 4 and what Eskild Ebbesen has done, and of course I've looked a lot to Mads and Rasmus, and I have always looked on other sports, like what can I use from their sports. And when I started rowing with Anne, we talked a lot about what was the strengths in kayaking and the strengths in rowing, and how could we mix it together to be even better.
So was there anything, some training characteristics or things that you pulled from kayaking that you felt carried over or applied well to rowing?
Yeah, I think the weights, we didn't do weights in lightweight rowing before, so it was new for us to use the weights.
Okay, interesting. So they have it sounds like the kayaking athletes have a pretty rigorous strength and conditioning program.
Yeah,
with weights.
They do a lot of weights. You should have seen Anne's overarm before she started rowing. Whoa. So, yeah.
Muscles, huh? Muscles.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Last question. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself 10 years ago?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think I have learned a lot all the time, and I still learn about cooperation with the coach and the partner. And 10 years ago, that was when I was in the single and I started up with Anne.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something like, but I think around that time, I learned a lot about. I think what I learned from getting into being a mom, it's like just not checking out the training for the training. As it has to be good training, otherwise I could spend my time better. So I think the way that I really wanted it and have the kids as well, then it helped me both physically but also mentally, like being like the switching on, switching off. So when I was rowing, I was doing it 100%, and then when I came home, it doesn't matter if I was sub 7 or 720 in the ergometer. She loved me as much as even what I've done. So I think that was very good for me to learn that, like, being 100% on the water and then take a rest when I came back home and just play with the kids. And I think that's very good learning, because sometimes it can the rowing can and the identity of being an athlete can take too much space in your head, I think. Sure.
No, that's so important. That's great. Yeah, it's I have to imagine kids continue to give us a lot of perspective, and they make us not take life too seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Just rowing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Juliane, that takes us through all the topics and the questions I have for you, as well as your racing career up to this point. So is there anything else that you want to add or share?
No, I think it's a very important project, because lightweight rowing has been a big part of my life, like for 20 years now, and I think it's a great sport, and it is different from heavyweight rowing, because we have to do the weigh in and all the schedule thing about that. I think we are a bit of another type of athlete with the weigh in, and I think it would be a shame if small people like a nation and they couldn't compete equally. And I think, lightweight rowing, it's a great event, and I think it's very spectacular, because when I was younger, I did handball as well, and when I saw all the opponents, they were just looking so big. But when you're into lightweight, you know that we are all almost equal. Right. So it's very everything is equal. So the best, the one who had the best technique and the best preparation and the best, that's the one who will win at the day.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Leo Training Podcast. If this content is important to you, please be sure to rate and review so more people can listen. Also, you may follow me on social media, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, to get weekly free content. For more in-depth content, please subscribe to my email newsletter at my website, leotraining.io. Be sure to check out the resources page to download free, helpful content. If you have any questions or feedback, please contact me directly by email at joe@leotraining.io or via Instagram. The handle is @leotraining. Thank you again for listening, and have a great day.